Hello and welcome to this week's vlog, the story of me and my yarn smithing and the soap opera that is my life at the moment. This week's been a bit strange because I've had no hate on the messages and I feel like somehow I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to talk about one or two things this week. I've had a couple of requests, one of which was to show my design process, how I go about designing something from scratch. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. There are, let's have a look, other things. If you like my t-shirt, let me just do this for you. Look, do I look like a hooker? These will be shipping very soon. I'm going to put a thing down below as soon as they're available to order. There are lots of colours. I actually quite like the tie-dye one. I think that's probably my favourite. So they'll be available very soon. They should have been available by now, but for those who are watching and have seen the other videos, it's kind of my life. Something's going to go wrong. If it's going to go wrong, it's going to happen to me. But we smile, we laugh, we get through it. Little update on, if you saw the vlog last week, you'll know that we're having a new kitchen put in and they couldn't get it upstairs, which is our kitchen's on the first floor. So the kitchen is upstairs now. They've done it. The fridge freezer's gone up. It's put us behind by a little while. However, it's looking quite nice. So that's one thing that's going in favour. You'll see as well, there's a big bag of stuff arrived there somewhere, can you see? So I'll be opening that over the next week and I'll show you some of the things I've ordered. So in the meantime, stay tuned and watch out for... Oh, there's something else I've got to show you before we go on. One or two people asked me about the crochet along because they saw that there. So the crochet along was actually, this is about half of it. This was a throw that we did as a week by week crochet along. That's available on the members site. If you want to become a member, it's like less than £1 a week. But that actually supports me to buy the yarn and stuff that I need to do those things. And as you can imagine, that takes me hours and hours to design the pattern, to write it down, and to actually do it for you. You can actually buy the pattern if you don't want to be a member. You can buy the pattern from both Lovecrafts and Ravelry. It's on both of those. So let's see if I get any hate for those things, because I'm daring to charge for patterns. Let's see. Anyway, I'll see you in a minute. So I was asked to do a video on my design process, how I start from scratch and design a garment. Now there are several different ways that I do this, and it depends on the end user. If I'm designing for a yarn company that want me to write a pattern, then I do it in a very different way to this. do that, I have to start with the yarn that they send me that they want me to work with, and there's usually a brief, whether it's for women or children or men, and what type of garment that they want. Also, when I'm doing that, I've got to grade it, so that means the pattern has to be written in lots of different sizes, and it has to work, it has to be concise. So that's a very mathematical process that I use for that, and that's quite complicated, and it's a very long process. It takes an awful long time. What I'm doing today is being designed for a specific person. So, a husband of mine recently has lost quite a lot of weight because he's not been terribly well, and so I've started to replace some of the things in his wardrobe that we're going to have to send to the recycling because they're way too big. So I went online to have a look to see what yarn I wanted to use. That was the very first thing that I did in this instance. And he said that he would like a jumper just to wear with jeans, and he wanted something in green. I've not done him anything in green. He's normally a black or a purple guy. So I started off with a sketch. I'm going to put the sketch up now. So I'll sketch a little bit and I'll see, different shapes, different patterns, different ideas. Then I decide on what size it's going to be, how much ease there's going to be in the garment. Is it going to be tight fitted? Is it going to be big and baggy? If it was going to be big and baggy, you might as well wear some of the old stuff that we're going to send to the recycling. So this one is a little bit more fitted. And what I do then, I'll put a little chart up here. I look at what size, the size of everything and the measurements of everything. Then I'll start and I'll sit and I'll play with the yarn that I've bought, and I'll do some stitch patterns. And you can see here I ended up with this. I started off actually using just bits of scrap yarn that I'd got to come up with a stitch pattern that I liked. So this was 2 or 3 nights maybe just messing about on doing stuff, doing it again, just to see what I can come up with. And you'll see on the design there's just one row of something that looks a little bit like cable, which will go very well with a rib pattern. So I decided to use a brioche looking pattern. We in the design trade would call this English rib, or different places have got different names for it, but it's all the same thing. So because of that, and because of the way that the pattern was going to work, that led me to think, well, if I want to create this and do it fairly easily, I'm going to have to work sideways. It's very rare that I do that actually. So I started playing around, like I said, with the actual yarn that I'm going to use to see how much stretch it had got in it. Because it's going to be done this way, the thing that you've got to be very careful of when you're working sideways is how much stretch it's got in this direction, because if it ends up being quite a heavy garment, as the wearer wears it, it's just going to get longer and longer. So I tried with a few different hook sizes to get the right feel, the right weight of the garment, and the right density is a word that in design we would be using. So then we have to measure the actual pattern part of it, how many stitches and how many rows to the inch. What we usually do is do something that measures into a 4-inch square, and you'll see yarn companies use that as well, because more often than not on the gauge that's on your yarn label it will tell you how many rows and how many stitches make a 4-inch square. And because I'm using 2 different patterns in this, because I'm also doing the English rib, which is this, the density of this is actually slightly different to the density of the pattern part. So I had to do that, measure both of those and work out a pattern so that we could incorporate all of that. There's only one panel of this which goes up one side, which means that the second side, or the second part of the front, is going to be a slightly different stitch count. But as I'm only making one of these and I've not got to grade it, that's actually quite easy. So I started with the back, which is this, and what I always do is I only have to start with, work half of it, because we know that the back is symmetrical. We're only going to have to work out the pattern for half of it, because the other side of it is just this in reverse. So it was very easy because I already knew how many stitches and how many rows to do. I knew what this length had to be here, the side seam, and I knew the width of it, what it had got to be. So it was actually quite easy to work out the stitch count on this one. We're doing a set-in sleeve on this one, which a lot of people actually find quite difficult to work out what the stitch count's going to be. But actually the way I do that, I will also make up, if I can find one, I will make up just half a sleeve. As you can see, it's here. And I work out, literally as I'm going along, I work out what this shaping has got to be. I've only got to do half a sleeve because the other side is going to be exactly the same. Also, obviously, a sleeve has got shape in it down the side, so I've got to work out that as well. And on this particular one, because of this shaping here, I actually found it was much easier to start in the middle. So what I've done is, with the sleeve that's finished, which is this one, you'll see it's actually finished, and I've put a rib on the bottom of it. What I actually did was start in the middle and work in both directions, and that made it so that it was easy to get this side shaping in, and it was also much easier to do the sleeve head shaping. That would have been quite difficult to actually write down as a pattern, but as this is a bespoke piece, it's only a one-off. I don't have to grade it, I don't have to do any of that. So I ended up doing then, moving on to the front, and again I've only had to work, let me just get that untangled, I've got in a mess. I only had to work half of it to work it out. The other side of the front, I'll be taking the stitch count actually from half of the back, if you follow me, because the stitch count on this side was slightly different because we've put this panel in here, and that will make that slightly different. I don't know yet if I'm going to put a rib on the bottom. This panel, I don't know if you noticed from, if I can find where they are, you'll see when I did the pattern pieces, it ends up actually without a straight edge, it ends up on the bias. So that actually did the same here. I just made the bottom shape a little bit strange. So what I might actually do with that is do the same thing that I did on the sleeve and pick up a rib and knit that, but I shan't decide that until it's done, and I'll also decide on what rib or collar I'm going to put on or whatever when I get there. So that's as far as I've got with that. hope that makes sense, what the design process was with that. The other thing that I'm working on at the moment, you probably saw a couple of weeks ago, I showed you these granny squares that I was doing. Well, I actually finished all of the granny squares, and now I've started to work on sewing it all together. And this is where we're at with that at the moment. This is actually half a shoulder there. This is the neckline. This is the sleeve here, and this is the main body of the garment. So this will actually eventually be written down. So you'll see, I'll put a picture up here. I actually counted how many squares. Doing a granny square thing is actually much easier than it appears to be, because we know exactly what the square measures. It measures the same in height as it does in width, so it's actually very easy to do the count, to decide where they've got to go. It's also fairly easy then, because I know what sizes I want to make, it's fairly easy then to grade it, so I can write a pattern down. So I'll get to the stage very soon. Oh, I've done a sleeve in that as well. You'll see I've actually done, to get the sleeve shape in, I've actually done some little shaped inserts that are going to go in here to make the shape of the sleeve head. That's something that's perhaps a little bit different to what you see on a normal granny square one. When I finish this, I will show you, I'll also show you how I joined them as part of the working process as well. So that's the way I work. I hope that makes sense to you. Later on, I'll put the pattern for this probably on the members site. I might do a make along with this. I'll see how we feel when it's finished and if I like it or not. It's really quick to work up, this is, so I think I might do. And once again, before we get any hate, apologies for the state of my nails again. They're stained because I was taking colours off at the salon yesterday without wearing gloves, as I always do, which does tend to stain my nails a little bit. So send some hate if you like, we don't mind, because every comment helps with the algorithm for the channel. So hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to see you back in full form in a second or two. So there we go. I hope that makes sense. I've obviously been doing this for an awful long time, so it's really difficult when people say, how do you do that? It's actually quite hard to stop and think, how do I do that? Because I kind of just do it automatically. So it's been lovely to have you along yet again. Thank you very much to everybody who's subscribed. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined as a member. If you haven't joined as a member yet, please have a little pop over there. The information is in the description. It's less than £1 a week, and there's lots of things go on the members section that is quite nice. We've got patterns, we've got make-alongs. Later on, as we get more members, we're going to do little live chats and all kinds of things, and question and answer things. I do answer most of the, or as much as I can, the comments that come in. People ask me questions. We had somebody in the week ask me specifically what yarn I would recommend for a particular project. I'm more than happy to do that, but there's lots of that over on the membership site, so please do join that if you think you can. So in the meantime, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because it really does help out the channel. It brings in lots more views, which means I can do an awful lot more of these videos and some make-alongs for you. There's some more make-alongs coming along. I'm working on a couple of things at the moment, but obviously having the kitchen done, having poorly husbands, welcome to my world. So happy yarnsmithing, very much love as always, and I'm going to see you really soon. Bye bye.